Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Shalom, family. Good to see everybody here. Hope you're doing well. We're going to go over the UFC fight night that's scheduled for June 14th up at the White House. But there's one major thing. The White House is infested with gnats. And Dana White, who is the head of the UFC, went to meet with Donald Trump and had dinner, and they had decided to eat outside in the Rose Garden, and he said it was unbearable with all of the gnats that was there. And that's because Donald Trump and Melania disrupted everything by concreting the Rose Garden. If they would have left it in its natural state, they probably wouldn't have that problem. So the gnats are probably just gravitating whatever greenery that's left there. That's what they're gravitating to. So, boy, you can tell that place is under judgment. First, it was the swarm of bees, and now it's a gnat infestation. Boy, you can't make it up for real. So, and by the way, I got to get to, there was an announcement from Iran online. Iran has said that they are suspending all peace talks with Donald Trump. So the peace talks are off. Why? Because number one, Donald Trump and Netanyahu have been violating the terms of the ceasefire. As usual, when they said they're not even surprised. And Netanyahu has bombed Lebanon again. So all peace talks are off. The Strait of Hormuz is still closed. And y'all, you can best believe the gas prices are going up again. so, yeah. Well, a lot of people feel that Donald Trump should not have this fight night, the UFC fight night at the White House, because a lot of people are struggling now. A lot of people are struggling with day-to-day life, getting gas, buying groceries. I mean, look, y'all, there are videos out where people are saying they can't afford to eat because everything is so unaffordable. So it is getting worse. That's why some people don't like the fact that he is having this fight night on the 14th. And not to mention, y'all, the 250th anniversary of America look like that's falling apart. The entertainment, everybody is pulling out. Everybody's pulling out. And some of the entertainers are saying that when their agents book them to do these shows, they did not fully explain it was political and it was for Donald Trump. So once these acts found out, they are all pulling out. So look like the entertainment is damn near gone. It's gone. Ooh, boy, you can tell Donald Trump is so unfavorable. It's not even funny. So, y'all, let me go ahead and share my screen. And let's see. Hold on 1 second. So what we did, here it is. All right, y'all. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Thank you.
President Trump's pal reveals White House is swarming with gnats that may affect fight night. President Donald Trump's White House renovations have a very small but very annoying problem: gnats. After Trump tore up the grass in the White House Rose Garden in 2025 as part of his broader overhaul of the White House grounds, Ultimate Fighting Club CEO Dana White is now claiming the upgraded outdoor space came with an unexpected side effect. President Trump just opened the Rose Garden 2 nights ago, and he invited me to dinner there. The amount of gnats that were flying around. I'm like, holy S, White said on the Boardroom podcast on Monday, May 18th. White, who is reportedly close to the president, said the alleged infestation left him worried about the upcoming UFC fight night planned for June 14th on the South Lawn. As soon as I got on the plane, I called my head of production and said, "Yeah, let me tell you about the gnat situation tonight," the 56-year-old said. So when you're a fighter, think about that lighting grid, the amount of power in the lights, moths, gnats, and God knows what else. White went on to suggest possible solutions for the gnat problem, such as installing fans because gnats have a hard time in the wind. The UFC head honcho added that he isn't a fan of outdoor fights because of all of the little details that go into planning it. The White House has yet to publicly address White's claims. According to the Daily Beast, Trump mocked the state of the White House just last week, saying when he returned to office, it was not properly taken care of.
This is a lawn of the White House, and they're setting up a UFC wrestling match rink. What do you think?
For a second,
Ring.
it looked like a
To do
roller
what?
coaster.
They're going to do UFC on the lawn of the White House.
For what reason?
You have to ask them. The president wants it.
He's gonna be fighting? Or
No, that would be interesting. No,
that's not real, right? That's
no,
AI.
this is real. They're setting up a UFC wrestling ring outside of the White House, and there's going to be a big event.
What's the context?
Look, this is a rendering.
Oh. I mean, that's on brand because he is a reality TV star. So that
I feel like he could have put the money towards something else. I mean, it's their entertainment, right? I can't stop them from what they want to do. It's either you tune in or you don't tune in.
with our tax dollars.
Right.
That's
I
what
don't know.
you're
That's
doing?
what I'm saying.
Would you go?
No.
No, I don't think that's
I
a good
won't
idea.
watch it either. No.
We have other problems.
I mean, it's probably going to pop up on social media, and
Yeah.
I'll just
No, this is real. So what is that for?
He wants to have a wrestling match on the lawn of the White
Oh.
House, and he's friends with Dana White, who runs the UFC.
Oh. So this is a joke. They're playing.
No, they're not. They're playing in our faces, but they're not
Right.
playing.
This is a joke. Okay, I get it. It's like a funny thing.
All right, with UFC White House getting closer, we got to talk about these bugs, man, because this might be a serious problem for an outside event. Let's get into it. All right, so they officially started construction, and Dana White was really talking about the bugs. I don't know what they're going to do. They were talking about having fans and stuff like that. That's not going to stop the swarm, man. Are you kidding me? Bugs or not, I'm excited for the event. I'm going to be there at UFC Freedom 250 Fan Fest, so I'll keep y'all updated, let you know how the bugs are, and let me know your picks in the comments.
I find it really despicable, but that's all right.
A cage fighting arena on the White House South Lawn is taking shape. US President Donald Trump is hosting a mixed martial arts fight night there to mark the 250th anniversary of US independence. But what do people think of it?
Not really thrilled.
It does a remarkable job of covering the beauty of the White House, doesn't it? Yeah. I find it really despicable, but that's all right.
Cool for America. There's nothing with it. It's a good opportunity for people. It's fine.
It's a cool thing. You can do it, but not too often. So one time and then it's good.
Do you think it's proper for the White House lawn, or?
No, it really looks like I thought it looks like the Six Flags Great Adventure construction. It's not what the White House is about.
I think it's going to be a pretty big spectacle. It's just a sign of the times.
So, what do you think of the planned UFC event at the White House? Tell us in the comments.
The White House is getting another makeover ahead of America's 250th birthday celebration, but this time it's one that's only temporary.
UFC is going to be here. Dana White, the great Dana White, he's building literally a stadium, a 5,000 seat arena right outside the front door of the White House.
That fight, a first in the nation's history to ever be hosted on the White House South Lawn. The renderings for the event, UFC Freedom 250, showcase a massive display that includes a fighting cage known as the Octagon just outside the president's bedroom window, a huge lighting structure dubbed the Claw towers overhead, and there will be massive TV screens and seating for a watch party on the ellipse that can accommodate approximately 85,000 fans. Asked about who's paying for all of it, the White House responded to those questions on social media with 3 letters. Quote, UFC. For months, Trump has clashed with critics over his White House renovations, including overhauling the Rose Garden, redecorating the Oval Office, and demolishing the East Wing for a grand new ballroom. But the upcoming UFC fight on the South Lawn only underscores the dramatic transformation the White House has undergone since his second term began.
Well, in June, the Redneck Rodeo goes to the White House. It'll be the night of June 14th, 2026, the South Lawn of the White House, America's 250th birthday, Donald Trump's 80th birthday, and the richest tickets in sports will be inside a perimeter, $1.5 million a piece. Donald Trump's got 1,000 of them. UFC CEO Dana White has 200 tickets, and TKO President Ari Emanuel has the other 200, with a few thousand going to the military, some spectators on the lawn, and 85,000 more will be on the ellipse watching. This will be streamed on Paramount Plus with an octagon setup, fighters warming up, Topuria and Justin Gaethje walking out, the bell rings, and then you look above the cage, around the floodlights, drawn to a single concentrated zone of bright bug-zapping LED radiation that they didn't know was the President of the United States, sits a biblical plague of gnats. It's a real possibility. And that's all coming from the mouth of UFC's own Dana White. Dana White went on the Boardroom podcast this past Monday on Kevin Durant's media company and said the following.
So President Trump just opened the Rose Garden 2 nights ago, and he invited me to dinner there.
Yep.
The amount of gnats that were flying around, I'm like, holy shit. As soon as I got on the plane, I called my head of production and said, yeah, let me tell you about the gnat situation tonight.
That's right. He said President Trump opened the Rose Garden 2 nights ago and invited me to dinner there. And the amount of gnats that were flying around, I'm like, holy shit. Now, I just want to remind you that Dana White, who's hit his wife in public and seen the very worst of humanity in 130-pound flyweight bouts in Vegas casinos at 2 a.m., looked at the new Trump renovated Rose Garden, and his response was, holy shit. Why is the Rose Garden infested? Well, it's a good question. Why does the Garden of the State have a gnat problem? Well, because our president, Girth Vader, bulldozed the grass. The Rose Garden's had grass in it since John F. Kennedy was president. If you didn't know, grass holds moisture. Grass takes that moisture and drains water. And Trump tore it up in June of last year because...
See, that's why I was telling you in the beginning, Donald Trump and Melania caused this gnat problem. You know, they messed up the entire, nature of that entire Rose Garden. When they started putting all that concrete down and shuffling the ground around, they disturbed those gnats. Those gnats would never have been a problem if they didn't disturb the ground in that Rose Garden. They would never be a problem now. And every time there's a problem at the White House, Donald Trump tried to blame Biden. I'm like, look, Donald Trump, you are there now. You are there now. How you going to blame gnats on Biden? Your butt is there. And y'all were the ones that took the garden out, that Michelle Obama. Y'all been disturbing the ground all around the White House. Now they're disturbing the ground by putting in a bunker in a ballroom. That's all they do is just upset the ground everywhere they go. So yeah, I'm not surprised there's a gnat problem there. And they caused it. Let's go on.
And he said this in public. Women had, quote, trouble walking in high heels on the wet grass.
And that was grass. And the problem with it is you couldn't walk on it because this is built on a wetland and the grass was always soaking wet. It didn't matter. It was always soaking wet. Absolutely. And so when Brooke Rollins would get up and start making a magnificent speech and she'd be standing in mud and she'd say, I ruined my shoes. Her speeches would never be as good as they could have been because she was always concerned about ruining her shoes. But people would come here, women would come with the high heels, and it wasn't a pretty picture.
Therefore, the Rose Garden became a paved Mar-a-Lago patio, and paved patios in the summer in D.C. and low-lying, sitting next to the South Lawn, sun-baked, they turn out to be a 5-star resort for gnats and moths. But when you look at it, Dana White's logistical concern here becomes a big logistical concern because he said this. As soon as I got on the plane, I called my head of production and said, yeah, let me tell you about the gnat situation tonight. So when you're a fighter, think about that lighting grid, the amount of power in the lights, moths, gnats, and God knows what else, end quote.
So when you're a fighter, think about that lighting grid, the claw that we're going to have, the amount of power in the lights, moths, gnats, and God knows what else. These are all the things I think about.
God knows what else. Dana White, the man who cannot promise what will be flying around the octagon during the weirdest UFC event in history, and they're planning actual logistical fixes. And the fix, to me, looks like redneckery. They're going to install fans. Big, giant fans near the lights because, quote, gnats have a hard time in the wind.
In your mouth and your nose while you're trying to fight. So I was telling Craig, my head of production, I was like, maybe we put fans in that can, because gnats have a hard time in the wind.
Yeah. They're going to point industrial fans at the octagon to deal with the bugs that Donald Trump's vanity renovation invited into the home of our executive branch. This whole fight, it's going to be a disaster. It's obviously the most on-the-nose grift of Trump's second term. And the problem is I say that about just about every grift. 5,000 attendees, $1.5 million a ticket. The money goes to TKO Holdings, the company run by Ari Emanuel, Rahm Emanuel's family member, who's also one of the Donald Trump longest running show business friends. That's the guy getting the money. And to get that money, Trump is giving the keys to the South Lawn. UFC gets a free venue, free military marketing, and $1 billion in social media impressions from the federal government. Meanwhile, Trump gets a birthday party paid for by his rich friends, surrounded by the United States Army, while the rest of the country watches him preside like a fat Roman emperor over 2 grown men beating each other up in front of the people's house, surrounded by gnats. That is what we've done with America. And this event itself, the spectacle, the fact that the South Lawn of the White House is now a pay-per-view venue for an entertainment league owned by a billionaire who just happens to be one of Trump's best friends, is the most distilled, refined essence of what this presidency has become. Well, that and anything to do with Kid Rock. This man's 80th birthday party, paid for by the people, for the military, with a closed list of billionaire friends in attendance, hovered over by bugs because Donald Trump killed the grass. Do me a favor, make sure you are subscribed to the Ring of Fire and leave me a comment, because when it comes to June 14th, when the gnats descend on the South Lawn and Donald Trump is shaking hands with Dana White and Ari Emanuel under a swarm of black flies, I want to be the place that you come to watch and laugh and remember this is what happens when you put a guy who's essentially a wedding planner from Atlantic City in charge of the entire United States government.
You see the blue arches? There's a lot of construction on the right.
Oh, yeah, the White House is like
Yeah. They're making a new dance floor.
C'est la Maison Blanche. La Maison Blanche.
A claw-like structure now towering over the White House lawn. It's all part of the setup for the upcoming UFC Freedom 250 fight scheduled in just a few weeks from now. The massive setup is hard to miss if you've seen it, and it is already sparking plenty of reaction from visitors and locals.
I thought it was a joke. I couldn't believe it was real.
Just construction annoys me, but I don't. The UFC thing is whatever. It's only temporary.
Now, I just love how it's okay to do that. He wants 5,000 seats in there. All right. It's okay to waste your money on that, but it's not okay to give us reparations. I mean, this is just unbelievable. The things that are going on today, in my opinion, it's a waste of money. All right. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of time. And the Nats are telling you, you know, I don't care what fans they put out there, they gonna still feel the effects of those Nats that are out there. You think they won't? They absolutely will. You know? So look, y'all, Donald Trump can do whatever he wants. I got my, and I do want to say this, I got my next live coming up. Do you know there are more states that are about to put a 100% tax on that slush fund money that's going out to the J6ers? Yeah, they ain't gonna see a dime of that money. Not only are California and now New York is on board with California, and there's several other blue states that are saying people from their states that get that money, they are going to hit them with a 100% tax on that money, and they won't see one dime. I said, okay, that's one way of doing it, right? But yeah, so we'll be talking about that next. But yeah, you know, first of all, you got to think about the way the White House was built. I did a live on this one a while back. Yeah, it was swampland, and they ripped all the trees out that was all around the swampland, and they filled it all in. That's why that ground is always wet. That's why Donald Trump was talking about how women are in their heels and their shoes are getting messed up. Yes, because they filled it in, you know, with all kinds of dirt and everything. But that swamp water is still down there in the ground. That swamp water is still there. That's why the grounds are always wet at the White House. It was not, in my opinion, a good idea for them to build it on a swampland. I don't know who's bright eye. It must be one of them high IQ ideas, you know. Only they understand and nobody else does. So anyway, yeah, you're going to have all kinds of problems. I'm sure they've had a lot of problems over the years, but that's what they did to put that place in. And as you can see, like I said, that underground swamp water is still there. It's still there. It's just under all the dirt that they tried to use to fill it in. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now Donald Trump is doing so much digging and construction all around that White House. I'm not surprised that there's another plague there that him and his wife caused. So, you know, and they caused the bee swarm too. That was caused by Melania. And now you see Donald Trump, from him digging all around for his bunker and in his ballroom, and they dug out the rose garden to put concrete all up in there. they didn't disturb too many things around the White House. So they're the ones causing it. Well, I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, what do you expect from people with high IQs? So I've got to say, Douglas Ledger, thank you so much for the super sticker and your support for my channel. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure probably where the Capitol is, that was probably swampland. I believe that whole area was at one time. It's not just the White House, it's some of the other buildings they got over there, those federal buildings. Yeah, a lot of that mess is built on top of a swamp. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, hey, this is what they wanted. They wanted their White House put on a swamp, and it was. So now you got all these problems going on, and what are you going to do? You know, he done did too much. Mhm. And that side that he tore off, it still looks like that. If you go look at even recent picture, it's still all torn up. And it's only because they're doing all the underground work. That's why nothing on the surface is looking like it's being worked on. Yeah, because they're too busy trying to make this 30,000-foot bunker down there for Donald Trump and his family and an underground hospital. Unbelievable. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Yeah, he's going underground. Isn't that, wouldn't his bunker be in the swamp? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And wouldn't his bunker be in the damn swamp? I'm just saying, y'all. So, y'all, I will see you at 3:45 for my next upcoming live. And don't forget to pick up your hair products. Shalom, family.